There are two carnivore foods that I don't eat. And today I'm going to talk about what those two foods are, explain why I don't eat them. And then I'm going to talk about the positives and the negatives of those two foods as well so that you can make a good informed decision on whether or not you want to eat those foods or not yourself. All right. So the first food that I'm going to talk about today is organ meats, organs, however you want to say that. Um, Organs are very nutritious. So, one of the positives is that you get a lot of nutrients from them. Liver, for instance, has a lot of vitamin A, B12, folate, copper, iron, and choline in it. Heart has a lot of B vitamins in them and CoQ10. Kidneys, selenium, and B12. The brain has a lot of DHA in it, cholesterol. So those are all really good nutrient density that you get out of those organs. Okay. Um, that can be a good thing, especially if you are newer on the carnivore diet and you are more nutrient deficient. But on the other hand, on the other side of things, it can be a bit too much if you're eating too much of those. So, one thing you need to worry about on the negative side is overdoing the amount of organs you're eating, especially liver, because liver is so high in vitamin A and copper. You can have vitamin A toxicity and a copper imbalance, which can cause fatigue, headaches, nausea, and joint pain. Now, you do need to be eating a lot of liver on a consistent basis for that to happen. But that is one thing to consider. Now, going back to positive, there is one positive that I think could help a lot of people, and that is that organ meats tend to help with cravings, to get rid of cravings, your desire for the non carnivore type of foods and stuff like that, right? So it can help you in that case. For me, it's more of just that I don't feel like I am that deficient and I don't really need organs. And for me, it's just easier to eat beef and so forth. Now, most people that have been doing carnivore for a while and are eating ruminants, so we're talking like beef, um, lamb, that kind of stuff, bison, whatever, they are getting plenty of nutrients that they really don't need organs. And that's kind of where I stand. I eat a lot of beef. So that's kind of where I am with it. Now, the last piece that I want to talk about with this and possible somewhat of a negative piece for organs is that some people just don't tolerate them well. So if you have issues with food aversion, um, upset digestive system, or nausea from eating organs, then you want to stop eating them because that's just what's happening for you, that you have some sort of intolerance to them. And it might just be that you're eating too much of them or eating, too often, that type of thing, whatever. So that is one thing that can happen. So, there's a lot of people out there that do eat organs, a lot of people that don't eat organs. If you're newer on the carnivore diet, it may help to speed up getting, you know, the enough nutrients that you were deficient in before. But if you've been on it for a while, you probably don't really need that because you're probably already um, doing well with your nutrients. So that's that one. All right. The second food that I don't eat that I want to talk about is any farm raised fish or seafood. Now, instead, I will eat wild caught fish, seafood, that kind of stuff. But here's some positives that I'm going to give you for farm raised fish and seafood. And really, the two big positives for this is going to be that they are cheaper and they're available year round. So it makes the seafood more accessible to more people, right? And I shouldn't just say seafood, it's, any type of farm raised fish and seafood. Um, so that's probably the biggest advantage for most people is, the price and then the availability of it. Um, Here's one of the main negativities, though, negatives, I guess I should say, as to why I rather go with wild caught. Farm raised fish are commonly fed corn, soy, wheat, and vegetable oils. These lead to lower EPA and DHA omega 3s and higher omega 6s. So that is a less favorable fat profile than a wild fish. Now, the wild fish, wild seafood, tend to have higher omega 3s and lower omega 6s, and that is the better fat profile for you. So that's one of the main things. To a bit of another lesser extent, you can say that some of the farming conditions, are not going to be as good as wild caught, right? You're going to have different pesticides that could be, in there depending on the farming standards by that country and so forth. So there's just different things there, right? There could be antibiotics, um, you know, different things there that you're not going to see in wild caught fish, wild caught seafood. The other piece is with farmed fish, you tend to have lower vitamin D, lower iodine, lower selenium. Now, the iodine could be a big thing because that's one thing that, depending on what you're eating in your carnivore diet, you might not be getting enough of because most people in general just don't get enough iodine. So if you're eating a lot of fish and seafood, that can help with iodine, so it can age and stuff like that. But you're not getting as much iodine as you think if you're eating farm raised. So that's why you probably want to go more with wild caught fish, wild caught seafood. So those really are the two foods, carnivore foods, that I tend to stay away from, that I don't eat. Um, in terms of the fish and seafood, it's just the farm raised. I still like to have the wild caught. I'll have wild caught shrimp, um, you know, crab legs, salmon, any of those kinds of things I typically eat. Um, when it comes to the organs, I just don't eat them, but it's more so a preference for me. I just don't like the taste as much, and it's just easier for me to eat beef, and I'm getting enough nutrients and so forth from the beef that it's not a problem. So, I don't eat the organs. So I'd like to hear from you. Do you eat organs, or do you eat seafood and fish? And if you do eat seafood and fish, do you tend to go more with wild caught, or are you okay with farm raised? Let me know in the comments below.